Hello everyone, I'm back with a new video and today's topic is atomic structure. It is the part 2 of it. In the previous video, we have discussed about the discovery of atoms, basically subatomic particles, protons, neutrons and electrons, who discovered them, what were their charges, specific charges and about mass. And also we learned about how to represent the elements. Okay, so in today's video, we will discuss about the electrons, basically how are the mass electrons number is calculated inside the atom. So let's start. Basically there are two cases of electrons. If the atom is at neutral state, then the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. Okay, but if the atom has some charge, or basically it is an ion, then positive charge denotes that the atom has lost some electrons and negative charge denotes that it has gained some electrons. Let's take an example to understand it better. Basic formula: element magnesium has 12 protons and has mass of 24. Okay, so number of protons will be 12 here. Number of neutrons is calculated by subtracting 24 minus 12, which comes 12, and since it is an atom with no charge, so number of electrons is also 12. Now when it becomes an ion, which is Mg2 plus ion, so here protons will always remains the same whether it is an element or an ion. Okay, so protons is 12, neutrons also remains the same, neutron again is 12, but now positive sign is denotes that it has lost some electrons. So earlier it was having 12 electrons, now it has lost 2 electrons, so now it is having 10 electrons. Similarly for aluminium. Okay, now number of electrons is Z minus charge with the sign. Okay, like see, there were 12 electrons earlier and then it is plus 2, so 12 minus plus 2 will give me 12 minus 2, which is equal to 10. Similarly, here are some other examples you can see of neon, sodium, calcium, potassium, argon, etc. Now let us find the number of electrons in these ions. Na plus is sodium has basically 11 electrons and 11 protons. Now since it has a charge of plus 1, it denotes that it has lost 1 electron. So now it becomes 11 minus 10, 11 minus 1, which is equal to 10 electrons. Similarly, beryllium has how many electrons? Basically it has 4 electrons. Now plus 3 signs denotes that it has lost 3 electrons. So now it becomes 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. Now it is having 1 electron. Similarly for nitrogen, earlier it was having 7 electrons, now 3 minus, it denotes that it has gained 3 electrons. Minus sign denotes that the atom has gained some electrons. So now it will become 7 plus 3 is equal to 10. Similarly for fluorine, calcium and potassium. Now let us find the number of electrons in compounds. Carbon has 6 electrons in its neutral state and oxygen has 8 electrons in its neutral state. Since the compound is having no charge, so we will simply calculate it. So one carbon atom has 6 electrons, plus there are 2 oxygen atoms and each oxygen atom has 8 electrons. So 2 into 8 becomes 16. 16 plus 6 becomes 22 electrons. Similarly for N2O, nitrogen has 7 electrons in its neutral state. So 7 into 2 becomes 14, plus oxygen has 8 electrons. So it becomes 14 plus 8, 22 electrons. Simple. Now H2O, hydrogen has 1 electron in its neutral state and oxygen has 8 electrons. Now there are 2 hydrogen atoms, so 1 into 2 becomes 2 plus 8 becomes 10 electrons. Now there are some ionic compounds also. SO4 2 minus. Sulfur has 16 electrons in its neutral state. Now oxygen has 8 electrons in its neutral state. So it becomes 16 plus there are 4 atoms of oxygen, so it becomes 8 into 4, which becomes 32. 32 plus 16 becomes 48. Now there is a minus sign, 2 minus also. It denotes that it has gained 2 electrons. So 48 plus 2 becomes 50. Simple. Now carbon has 6 electrons in its neutral state and oxygen has 8. So 2 into 6 plus 4 into 8. So becomes 12 plus 32, which is 44. Now there is a minus sign again, 2 minus, it denotes that there is a gain of 2 electrons. So it becomes 44 plus 2, which is 46. Let's take another example also here. NH4, nitrogen has 7 electrons in its neutral state and hydrogen has 1 electron in its neutral state. 7 plus 1 into 4, since there are 4 atoms of hydrogen, it becomes 7 plus 4, which is 11. Now there is a positive sign which denotes that there is a loss of electron. So minus 1, 11 minus 1 becomes 10. Similarly for H3O, hydrogen has 1 electron in its neutral state and oxygen has 8. So 3 into 1 plus 8 becomes 11. See, this is a plus symbol which denotes loss of electrons. So it becomes 11 minus 1, which is 10. Okay. Let us take a question here. Let us take an element X which has 10 electrons and it is in neutral state. Now there is a loss of 2 electrons, which now we will write it as plus 2. X, which is having a charge of plus 2. So now what will be the number of electrons here? 8 electrons, because it has lost 2. Now this X plus 2 charge becomes X plus 4 charge it will have. Now from 10 it has gone to a charge of plus 4. So it will become 6 electrons, or basically from X plus 2 it becomes X plus 4 charge. So here also there is a loss of 2 electrons. So it becomes 6 electrons. Similarly here. Now let us take another example similar to it. Now this is an element X which is neutral and is having 12 electrons and 12 protons. Now it becomes X minus 2. Minus sign denotes that it has gained some electrons and minus 2 denotes that it has gained 2 electrons. So now from 12 electrons it will become 14 electrons. Now it becomes X minus 5. So from minus 2 it becomes minus 5, means it has gained more 3 electrons. So from 14 electrons it will become 17 electrons, and similarly it becomes here minus 8, so 20 electrons. Simple. Now let us solve one more question here. If A3 minus ion number of electrons present are 18, then find the number of proton and neutron having mass equal to 31. So now we can just simply calculate it using the formula A equals Z plus N. Simple. Now here next topic comes is percentage change by mass increase or decrease. It is percentage change is calculated by final mass minus initial mass divided by initial mass into 100, which gives us the percentage change. If it is negative, then it is the decrease by that percent, and if it is positive, then it shows the increase in that percent. Okay. And also we must remember that mass of an atom is basically concentrated at its nucleus, and nucleus has protons and neutrons. So if proton and neutron mass changes, then only the mass of the atom will change. But if the electron mass is changed, then there is no change in the mass of atom. Okay. Now let us see an example here. If carbon C12 mass of proton is doubled and mass of electron and neutron is tripled than the original, then find the percentage increase in mass. Okay. So now here first we have to find the increase in proton. So we will use the process and we will get it as 18 AMU, atomic mass unit. Okay. Now second thing is neutron and electron are tripled. We must remember that if the electron's mass is changed, then there is no change, then we just have to neglect it, because electron mass is not calculated in the mass of atom. Okay. So now neutron becomes 2 times, so it will become 12 AMU. So now final mass will be 18 plus 12, which is 30 AMU. Now final minus initial, 30 minus initial mass is 12 AMU, which becomes 18 by initial mass is 12 into 100, which becomes 150%. This shows the increase in the mass. That's all for today. Thank you.